I'm getting over from being sick. Oh, that's cool. Let me cough. Hello, welcome to the Wild Review. I'm the Wild Reviewer, and welcome back to 25 Wild Christmas Review Days. It's day 8. We've actually made it this far. Past two videos, I've been talking about the Santa Claus movie series, the one that stars Tim Allen. 2 days ago, I talked about the first Santa Claus. Yesterday, I touched upon the Santa Claus 2, and today we are finishing up the trilogy by talking about the Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause, which is okay. I mean, it's funny. I'm not gonna say I hate it. Now, I've already done a video on the Santa Claus 3. I touched upon why people really don't like it, what's wrong with it, because this isn't a film that a lot of people like in the Santa Claus trilogy. You can check that video out in the description below. I put a link to that. I didn't bother to watch it before I made this. Lazy filmmaking. Hooray! So if I end up repeating myself, I apologize. I also apologize for the way I sound. I'm not feeling well. The Santa Claus 3 was released in 2006, 4 years after the second movie was released, and 12 years after the first one was released. This film continues the tale and concludes our story of Scott Calvin's adventure of being Santa Claus, the man that yelled at Santa for being on his roof, causing him to fall off the roof, and he took his jacket and became Santa. This film shares very similar aspects to the second one. There's a lot of stuff happening. One aspect of the film, Scott and Carol, Carol is his wife now, Carol and Scott are married, Carol was introduced in the second film, they are expecting a baby, and Scott wants to make sure everything goes right, because he kind of failed at being a father the first time, he doesn't want to mess it up a second time. So he's very anxious to make that happen. Also, it's Christmas time, so it's his busiest time of year. He's got a lot of work to do, and it keeps getting messed up. Why? Because he's got Jack Frost hanging out at the North Pole, because Jack Frost wants to have his own holiday, which the Council of... I gotta look this up now, honestly. This is getting ridiculous. What's the name of this guy? Council of Legendary Figures. That's what it's called. That consists of like Mother Nature, Easter Bunny, Father Time, Tooth Fairy, Sandman. Jack Frost wants to be part of that, but he has to prove himself that he's worthy of getting on that, so he hangs around with Santa all day and helps out at the North Pole. However, Jack has discovered that there is an easy way to get his own holiday, and this is because Scott's head elf, Curtis, played by Spencer Burslin, informs Jack that there is such a thing called the Escape Clause. That implies that if Scott were to ever want to quit being Santa, he has to put his hands on a certain type of snow globe and say the words, "I wish I had never become Santa," thus bringing him back in time to the moment where he put on Santa's jacket and would be able to stop himself from doing that. So now Jack has this plan to make sure Scott hates being Santa by ruining his Christmas. Along with that, Carol is upset that she will not be celebrating Christmas with her family. So Scott brings her parents all the way to the North Pole and tries to hide the fact that he's Santa and that the North Pole exists. Okay, that Santa's workshop exists. The North Pole definitely exists. You can't hide that fact. And instead making it look like that they're in Canada. Also, Scott's ex-wife and her new husband and Lucy want to come to the North Pole. So that's happening. And then at some point we get a It's a Wonderful Life moment, because we get to see how life would be if Scott was not Santa but Jack was. There is no Charlie in this movie. Or Bernard. There's none of that either. Actually, come to think of it, I think one of the reasons why people don't appreciate the Santa Claus 3 anymore is because Charlie is not in the film. I think that was one aspect. And Bernard, some of the original cast members within the film, they're not in the film. But we'll get to that. So yeah, there's a lot going on in this film. A lot more, I guess you could say, than the second one. So you got new baby, you got in-laws coming, you have an old family coming, you have Jack Frost's plot, you have It's a Wonderful Life. There's just so much going on packed within... How long is this film? A 92-minute film. You have an hour and 32-minute long film, and you're packing all this stuff in. Oh boy. So out of all three Santa Claus films, because I definitely enjoyed this film. I love the Santa Claus series. I would say on a scale ranking the three films, Santa Claus 2 would come in first place, the first one would come in second, and this would come in last place. And it's not because it's horrible. I don't find this film to be horrible at all. It is definitely funny. It's definitely entertaining. They've kept the whole look of the North Pole, which is the one thing I love about this series, the way that the North Pole looks. I said it in the last video, but I love how the Santa's workshop is all set up. It's so organized, it's colorful, it looks like Christmas. And I really appreciate the fact that they didn't get rid of that look at all. Again, Tim Allen does a really great job playing this role of Santa Claus. And for this film, they have Martin Short playing Jack Frost, who actually does a really good job playing Jack Frost. But this film, there's just something about it that's like, maybe it wasn't needed. Personally, none of the other films are really affected by it. In fact, the second one really, if you got rid of the second one, it wouldn't really affect anything of the first one. But it's just like a continuation of the story. And it's not a bad one, but it's definitely one that has a lot going on. It's kind of one of those holiday films that's trying to be its own holiday film, but is also bringing in another holiday film to be part of its storyline. Because again, this has an It's a Wonderful Life moment happen. We get to see the world where Scott isn't Santa Claus. So that means everybody is completely different. Neil is not married to Charlie's mom anymore. They divorce. Charlie's being a punk. Scott has a bad relationship with a lot of people. The North Pole's turned into an amusement park. What the hell? I know some people don't like watching this film. They're like me, they put this film at like the end of their list of favorite to least. I mean, maybe there are people that love playing this film every year. I love playing it. Maybe there are people that are like super in love with this film, just like I love the second one. The things you will notice in this film is that, yes, I said it before, Charlie is not in this film and Bernard's not in this film. And I think the one thing I mentioned in the original Santa Claus 3 video, as well as in the second one, in the one I did yesterday, the character Lucy, she was brought in, I guess, to expand the family, but she was heavily used in this one because she was kind of taking Charlie's role of being that young kid that, you know, is like, wow, this is amazing, I love this. You know, that was Charlie in the first movie. And in the second movie, you know, he was kind of like that, but they were showing a different side of Charlie, of him. That we got to see the effects of all this on him as now a teenage boy. And Lucy is now, you know, experiencing all this, because she's kind of around the same age that Charlie was around the time of the first movie. I think that's why it doesn't feel as special, because I know a good portion of the film is not there. Like, a good portion of what made the first movie amazing is missing. Both Bernard and Charlie were big parts in the first movie, and even a little in the second film. Bernard was heavily used in the second film as well. He had more screen time than he did in the first one. The last thing I want to touch upon this film, along with everything within the Santa Claus series, the ending definitely strikes me as odd. And I think I've talked about this before, but the ending is just so cheesy. It's so... No. I mean, the ending's fine. But it's just like... It kind of just comes out of nowhere. So after we see Scott's life with him not as Santa, we see him return back to the North Pole. Everything's fine. He reconnects with Carol. They all apologize. And then Scott finally shows his in-laws exactly what's going on. He gives them the truth, and he exposes the North Pole. For some reason, all the elves just stop pretending that it's Canada, and the Council of Legendary Figures, I remembered it this time, they're all just there. Like, they're just helping out, making toys. They all just appear at one point. They're exposing themselves to these in-law people. And then you have Charlie just appear out of nowhere. I mean, he was in the film earlier. He was in the alternate universe. And then he just showed up here because he was like, well, I figured you guys would need help, so I came. What? It's like they kind of just threw all this stuff in at the end to kind of show, yeah, we're still here. They weren't really needed. I think he did an amazing job as Jack Frost. He was very funny. He's really entertaining. I don't like the fact that he kind of died at the end. Yes, that's how it's implied. Jack Frost is no more in this film series. There is no more Jack Frost because he's all warm and cuddly now because Lucy gave him a very big warm hug. I know this was caused because it was kind of the only way for the parents to become unfrozen because Jack froze her parents. But they basically killed Jack Frost. I liked Jack Frost. Oh, yeah, baby aspect of the film, because that was also a thing. Yeah, the baby came at the end of the film. And that's all you gotta know. That's So that's Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause. Now, what did I think of all three films? That's a stupid question, because I've already basically given my answer. I love them. I love the Santa Claus series. I watch it every year. I said it before, I watch the Santa Claus 2 every year on Christmas Eve. The other two, I don't care when I watch them. It's just, I gotta watch them. I think Tim Allen does an amazing job. I'm very glad they didn't do a fourth one, because I felt like if they kept doing sequels, it probably would have been played out. I think it's fine the way it is. If they didn't do a third one, you know, that's okay too, but the third one's pretty entertaining, so I'll accept it. Overall, I think it's an amazing Christmas series. Definitely one that you should watch if you are not watching already. Even if you think it's cheesy and stupid, you know what? That's basically with every film. Like, you're gonna get that anywhere you watch a film, especially a Disney film. So that's all I gotta say about the Santa Claus 3 and the Santa Claus Christmas series. I'm now going to ask my question. I didn't ask them in the past two because I figured I'd ask you in this one, seeing that this is the end of the Santa Claus series trilogy. Yes, it's a trilogy. It's also a series. I want to know what you think of the Santa Claus films. Do you enjoy watching them? Do you watch them every year around Christmas? Do you love them? Do you hate them? What is your opinion on them? I'd love to hear all your thoughts in the comments below. That's it for day 8 of 25 Wild Christmas Review Days. We've done 8 days so far. We still got a few more to go until Christmas Day, and a few more until my Christmas setup is ready. Oh, that vase back there is probably... No, that's got a duck on it. Never mind. That's all the time I got for now. Tune in tomorrow for day 9, where I will be discussing 3 films again. Only this time, it's all in one big video. Because it's been remade. Twice. Thanks for watching The Wild Review. I'm The Wild Reviewer, and you just saw me review a thing.